I was about 6 hours into what was supposed to be a simple solo road trip. Just me, my car, a playlist of old folk music, and a break from the mess I left behind. I'd gotten divorced 3 months ago, mutual mostly. But the silence that followed felt louder than the fights ever did. I used to love the city. Now it made me feel like a ghost with nowhere to sit. So I hit the road. The plan was to explore some small towns near Lake Elmsworth and shoot a couple of food videos. I'm not a big-time influencer or anything, but my YouTube channel, Nomadic Nibbles, had a decent little following. I usually posted about hole-in-the-wall diners, forgotten cafes, mom-and-pop places that still served coffee in ceramic mugs. But that day, I lost track of time. I hadn't eaten since a granola bar at 10 a.m., and by 6:45, I was running on fumes, both in the car and in my body. I was halfway between towns, somewhere on Route 19. My cell signal had cut out miles ago. No GPS, no Yelp, just pine trees and long stretches of nothing. That's when I saw it, a flash of flickering neon between the trees. Betty's Roadside Diner. It had a bubblegum pink roof and big cursive letters like something out of a postcard from the 50s. There were maybe 3 cars out front, one of them with flat tires and leaves stuck to the windshield. I figured it was one of those places the locals still went to out of habit. Looked kinda charming. I pulled in and parked. Didn't think twice. I was too hungry to be picky. Inside, the place was almost too clean. Shiny tile floors, vinyl booths without a single rip, pie displays that looked like props. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused. A woman in a pale blue uniform smiled as I stepped in. "Well, hey there, sweetheart," she said. "You got perfect timing. We just pulled the ribs out." I blinked. Ribs sound great." She smiled wider. "Course they do. You always loved the ribs." "Always?" I didn't correct her. I just sat down and waited. The smell was too good to question. I didn't pull out my phone. Not to text, not to film, not even to check the time. That never happens. Usually I set up my camera on the salt shaker before the first bite. Show the dish, get a quick reaction, talk about the place, thank the staff, done. It's my routine. But here I just forgot. The food was unbelievable. The ribs melted off the bone. The sauce was sweet, smoky, and exactly how my mom used to make it before she got too sick to cook. The mashed potatoes were buttery and peppered just right. The pie, peach, came warm, like it had just come out of the oven. I didn't remember ordering pie, but it was there. The waitress, I never caught her name, stopped by once or twice. "Everything all right, sugar?" I nodded, mouth full. "It's amazing. Seriously." She winked. "We try to take care of our own." Our own? That phrase itched at me. I must have made a face because she just laughed and walked off toward the kitchen. As I stood to leave, I noticed something strange through the window. My car. It wasn't where I left it. Still my car. Silver Subaru, busted headlight, crooked license plate. But I remembered parking right by the window, directly across from the entrance. Now it was 2 spots down, half shaded under a pine. I shook it off. Maybe I remembered it wrong. I was tired. It had been a long drive. Back at the motel, one of those old highway places with faded carpet and a humming Coke machine outside, I casually mentioned the place to the front desk guy. "Betty's? Out on 19?" I said. "Can't believe it's not on Google Maps. The food was unreal." He froze, like I just said something gross. "Betty's?" "Yeah, pink roof, just outside town." His eyes narrowed. "Ma'am, that diner's been gone for years." I laughed awkwardly. "Number I just ate there, hour ago." He didn't laugh. He grabbed his phone, scrolled for a second, then showed me a blurry newspaper scan on Google Images. 4 dead in Betty's Diner gas explosion, May 2003. The roof in the photo, same pink, same shape, same place. I felt the ribs crawl in my stomach. I told myself it was a prank. Some messed up themed pop-up diner trying to go viral. I mean, that had to be it, right? There was no way I'd eaten in a building that burned down 20 years ago, right? Still, I barely slept. The sheets were itchy, the walls too thin, the shadows too long. Around midnight, I cracked the window for air. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock. 2 soft raps at the door. I froze. It wasn't a pounding, not urgent, just polite. I waited. 5 seconds, 10. Opened the door slowly, holding my breath. No one there. Just a box. Plain cardboard. No return address. No tape. Just sitting dead center on the doormat like someone knew I'd opened the door carefully. I pulled it inside. Inside was a vacuum-sealed rack of ribs and a napkin folded into a triangle. Handwriting on it, red pen, slanted and sloppy. Since you liked it so much, sweetheart. On the house. See you soon. I dropped it like it was poison and ran it back outside. Threw it in the dumpster out behind the vending machine. I kept checking the peephole every few minutes until the sun came up. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? I didn't have pictures. I didn't even have proof I'd eaten there. But the smell, it lingered on my hands. Sweet, spicy, tangy, like smoke and sugar. I left town that morning without even grabbing coffee. I kept the windows cracked and the radio low, listening for anything out of place. Back home, I tried to act normal. Posted a light-hearted video from a cafe in Michigan I'd filmed a week earlier. Smiled through it. Forced, probably. Comments came in fast. You okay? You look tired. This feels different from your usual stuff. Did something happen in Evermere? I didn't answer. I didn't want to feed it. But one day I filmed a packing video. Nothing special. Just my usual, what I bring on the road thing. I forgot to blur my address label on a box behind me. It wasn't my address. It was a shipping label. The return address just said, Evermere County, Route 19. I never ordered anything. The video was up for 5 minutes before I yanked it. Someone still screenshotted it. Theories started flying, threads popped up, Reddit got involved. I locked down all my socials. Private DMS only. No uploads for a while. And I haven't eaten ribs since. It's been 8 months now. Every once in a while, I think I've imagined the whole thing, that I hallucinated it. Low blood sugar, exhaustion, post-divorce spiral. I want that to be true. But then the dreams come. The waitress handing me a menu with blank pages. The sound of meat sizzling in the dark. The knock that comes just as I'm about to fall asleep. I've moved cities. Twice. Changed my number, got a new P.O. box. Still, sometimes a plain cardboard box shows up. Never delivered by mail, just sitting there on the stoop. No label. I never open them. I leave them out for trash. But I always check them. Just in case, because once I didn't. And when I opened it, the napkin inside said, Too late now, sweetheart. You already had seconds. Some appetites are meant to be resisted. When something feels off, it probably is. Curiosity might feed the mind, but it can also open the door to things you can't unsee, unfeel, or uneat. I never liked driving at night. There's something about the way the dark swallows the road that makes you feel like the world's forgotten you exist. But when your dad, who used to fix engines blindfolded, starts asking for tomato soup at 2 in the morning, well, you just drive. Dad was in the passenger seat, tapping his fingers against the cracked vinyl door like a metronome. His eyes were glassy, distant, like he wasn't fully here. I swear, Dad, the motel has a microwave, I said, already knowing I'd lost. No, he murmured. Has to be real, like your mom used to make. I sighed. You remember how she used to put too much pepper in it? He chuckled softly. Made it right. We pulled into Harrow. Not even a town, really. Just a scattering of buildings pretending to still be alive. A neon sign flickered ahead. Roxy's Roadside Grill. Green letters humming like a bug zapper on its last legs. Looks open? I said, squinting. Looks like soup, Dad replied. Inside, the place looked like it hadn't changed since the 70s. Booths with torn cushions, grease in the air. A man stood behind the counter, tall and thin, wearing a paper hat and a white apron with a mustard stain shaped like Florida. "Welcome to Roxy's," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. His name tag read, Kyle. "Hi, just the soup for him, coffee for me," I said, nodding to Dad. "Tomato soup," Dad added, "like homemade." Kyle's grin twitched. "We make everything fresh." He shuffled off to the kitchen. I leaned in across the table. "You sure you want to eat here?" Dad stared at the Formica tabletop. "He looks familiar." I blinked. "Who?" "The guy. Kyle." I turned toward the counter, but Kyle was gone. Just a bowl of soup steaming in his place. The bowl smelled right, like school lunches and snow days. Dad picked up the spoon, stirred it once, and then froze. "What is that?" he whispered. "What?" He pulled something out. Clink. A pair of glasses. My glasses. I reached for my face. Mine were still on. I stared at the ones in the soup. Same black frame. Same little scratch over the left lens. "Dad." "What the hell?" He looked pale, confused. "Did you drop?" "No," I said too quickly. "I didn't. These aren't mine. I mean, they are, but..." Kyle returned, wiping his hands on a rag. "Everything good?" I stood. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" "Don't know what you mean," he said, still smiling. "Glasses are yours, aren't they?" My throat tightened. "Where's my dad's soup from? Who made it?" He looked at me for a long second, then nodded toward the counter. "That guy did," he said softly. I turned. There was someone sitting at the counter now, slumped over a plate. Same jacket as me, same glasses, even the same damn haircut. I blinked hard. "What the hell?" Dad's spoon clattered to the floor. He was staring at the man too. "Alan, that's you." Kyle stepped closer. "He's been here a while," he said quietly. "Been waiting for someone to finish his shift." I backed away. "This is sick. Is this a setup? You drugged us?" "Who says this is your shift anymore?" Kyle said. Then the lights went out, and my father screamed. I don't remember how I got outside. Maybe I ran, maybe I passed out. But when I came to, the sun was rising and the diner was gone. Not boarded up, just not there. The gravel lot remained cracked and scattered with weeds. No building, no neon sign, no Kyle. I stood there, hands trembling, glasses still on my face and another pair still in my jacket pocket. I called out for Dad. My voice cracked. No answer, no footsteps, just birds chirping like it was any other morning. I drove back to the motel. Room 6 was empty. The bed looked like it had never been slept in. His bag was gone. Mine was still there. My car still had both sets of keys. My phone, dead battery. No signal when I charged it later. I called the police, reported him missing. They asked if he wandered off. I tried to explain about the diner. They searched Harrow, brought in dogs. There was no trace of him. They found no diner by that name registered in Idaho, not even in old records. I didn't tell them about the man at the counter, or the second pair of glasses. I went back 2 weeks later. Something in me had to see it again, or prove it hadn't happened. The parking lot was still there, but now overgrown, as if no one had been there in years. I stopped at a gas station. The old guy behind the counter looked like he'd been there forever. "Roxy's?" he said. "You must be talking about the place that used to be off Route 19. Shut down. Hell, 20 years ago. Burned down after some health code stuff. Weird place." I asked if he remembered a Kyle. He shook his head. "Name doesn't ring a bell. But people say strange things round here. Once in a while someone shows up asking the same thing you just did. Back home I had dreams. Always the same. I walk into Roxy's and my dad's already sitting there, across from someone who looks like me. They talk like old friends. I try to speak, but I don't have a mouth. I wake up sweating. Every mirror in my apartment shows my reflection lagging behind. About a month after the night in Harrow, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a napkin, one of those cheap diner types, with greasy fingerprints on it. Written in red pen, "Next time, finish your soup. K." I moved. New state, new job. I stopped wearing those glasses, got new ones, threw the old pair into a river just to be safe. I don't take road trips anymore. I fly, or I stay home. I've told the story twice. Both times people laughed until I showed them the second pair. I don't have them anymore, but I remember how heavy they felt. Like they were mine, but had seen something I hadn't. I don't know where my father is. I don't think I ever will. But sometimes when I pass a diner on the highway at night, one that wasn't there yesterday, I don't stop. I keep driving, and I don't look in the rearview mirror. Not anymore. Sometimes the places we go to escape reality are exactly where reality unravels. Trust your instincts, especially when something looks familiar in all the wrong ways, and never go back for a second serving if the first one left a bad taste. After my breakup with Eric, 4 years down the drain and no backup plan, I crashed at my sister Amanda's house in Bozeman. She said, "Of course, stay as long as you need." But after a week I could feel it. Her tone got sharper. Her fiancé, Kyle, made a habit of reminding me what real adults did with their lives. I tried to keep busy. I'd pick up groceries, apply for jobs, take walks just to avoid the thick silence in that house. I worked a couple massage gigs off Craigslist, but the money barely covered gas. Still, I kept telling myself this was temporary. That Monday I was out running errands with $20 left in my account. I'd just finished dropping off a resume at a yoga studio when I saw Sweet Cream Diner. Old sign, cute windows, and a chalkboard that said Mint Oreo Milkshake, $4.75. I hadn't eaten all day. Figured I deserved something. Inside, the place smelled like syrup and fryer grease, vinyl booths, jukebox crackling old country songs. It felt like something out of my childhood, familiar in that harmless way. A guy behind the counter, mid-30s, shaved head, long sleeves, smiled as I sat down. "Afternoon, miss. What can I get you?" "Just the milkshake, Mint Oreo." "Good choice." He grabbed a notepad. "System's down, though. Hope you don't mind the old swipe and sign." I hesitated. Sure. That's fine." He slid my card into a clunky gray reader, then handed me a paper slip and pen. The screen was dark. No total, no receipt, just a line for my signature. I signed without thinking. Tired, distracted, just trying to be nice. "Thanks, Lauren," he said, handing over the shake. "You're not from around here, are you?" "Sort of. Staying with my sister." Cool. Welcome to town." The shake was good. Maybe too good. I left with a sugar buzz and something tight in my chest I couldn't name. Something about the way he'd said my name, like it wasn't his first time hearing it. The next morning I checked my bank app out of habit. Balance, $3.14. I blinked. Yesterday I had close to $2,000. Savings from tips, a few checks I hadn't touched yet. Gone. I hit refresh. Still gone. Then the alerts came. $837 withdrawn. Gallatin Falls $600 ATM withdrawal. Missoula $411 online transaction. Gift cards, all time-stamped after I'd left the diner. I called my bank, hands shaking, wading through that stupid hold music. When I finally got a rep, I explained everything. How my card was only used once, at a place called Sweet Cream Diner. "Did you authorize these charges?" the rep asked. "Number I didn't even leave Bozeman yesterday. We'll start a dispute, but just so you're aware, withdrawals made with a PIN are harder to reverse unless fraud can be proven." I didn't use a PIN. He swiped it manually, said their system was down. That gave her pause. "You didn't receive a receipt?" "Number nothing. I just signed a slip." "I'll escalate it, but this could take weeks to resolve. You might want to cancel the card immediately." After I hung up, I sat on the curb outside the post office, breathing like I'd just been hit. I had no money, no backup plan, and I was about to walk back into a house where I already felt like a burden. When I told Amanda and Kyle, their reactions hit different. Amanda frowned, crossed her arms. I mean, are you sure you didn't just lose track of your spending? Kyle shrugged. A lot of scams out there. Could have been any site. Craigslist, maybe? I haven't even shopped online in weeks. The card was only used once, at that diner. Kyle looked down at his phone. Well, it's not like you're super organized with your stuff. Maybe don't jump to blaming people. It felt like being gaslit in real time. I could hear the disbelief in Amanda's voice, like I was just another screw-up story she'd repeat to friends. I left the kitchen without saying a word. That night, I went through my bag, looking for the receipt again, even though I knew there wasn't one. My journal was gone. 3 days later, I got a text from Lisa, the woman who ran the yoga studio where I'd dropped off my resume. Hi, Lauren. We need to talk. Can you come by today? I'd had a short trial shift there. 2 massages, both went great. I thought it was a sure thing. But when I walked in, her face told me everything. She didn't even ask me to sit. We received screenshots, inappropriate texts, from your number. What? Number? That's not possible. I didn't send anything. They were time-stamped, looked personal. My mouth went dry. I swear to God, I didn't send anyone anything. Someone must have spoofed my number. Lisa looked tired, but not angry. It's probably best we don't move forward. When I got back to Amanda's, I tore through my bag. No journal, no spare phone. I realized the spare SIM card I kept in a zip pouch was gone too. I confronted Kyle while Amanda was out. You ever been to Sweet Cream Diner? I asked him. He blinked. What? You heard me. He laughed, almost impressed. Why would I go there? I stepped closer. Your cousin works there, doesn't he? The shift in his face said enough. You had me set up, I said quietly. You took my stuff. You've been feeding Amanda lies since I got here. He smiled, shrugged. You needed a push. I stared. Why? Because you never leave. You show up with your drama and your baggage and expect people to fix it for you. Maybe now you'll finally figure it out. I should have hit him. I didn't. I packed that night. Amanda didn't stop me. I crashed in a friend's trailer about 90 miles out of Bozeman. It smelled like old carpet and mothballs, but it was safe. No one there knew me as Amanda's mess of a sister. I filed a police report, but without proof, no receipt, no security footage. It went nowhere. The bank refunded a fraction of the money. The rest was unverified loss. The yoga studio posted a hiring pause on their site the next day. Lisa never returned my last message. My reputation around Bozeman turned cold fast. Word spreads quick in small towns. People only need one reason to believe something awful. One night, I drove through Bozeman just to see. Just to check if the diner was still there. It was. Sweet Cream still had that old sign lit up, flickering just a bit. 2 cars in the lot. I parked down the street and watched from behind my steering wheel. Chris stepped outside, lit a cigarette, and looked right at my car. Like he knew. I backed out before he took a step. It's been 10 months. I work at a mobile massage service now, travel town to town, no website, cash only. I don't use that name anymore, not around Bozeman. I keep a little notebook now, just names and places, things that feel off. Trust comes slower now. So do smiles. But I'm building back, my way. I haven't had a milkshake since. Every once in a while I think about Amanda. I wonder if she ever realized what she helped do, or if she still believes whatever Kyle told her. But I've stopped expecting apologies. Sometimes I drive past Sweet Cream on purpose. Not to go in, God no, but to remind myself of what I missed before. The stare, the smooth words, the moment I signed without thinking. That milkshake cost me more than money. It cost me everything I trusted. And I'll never forget that taste. Not all thefts are about money. Some are slow betrayals, dressed as help. Always pay attention to the small things, because sometimes the biggest lies start with a smile and a signature. It had been a quiet stretch of marriage. Not bad. just distant. Richard and I had fallen into the rhythm of two people who loved each other but lived mostly parallel lives. Work, dinner, bed, repeat. We hadn't gone anywhere together in weeks, and when he got a last-minute call about a busted security system at a church in Maple Hollow, I surprised both of us by saying, "I'll come with." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to sit in a drafty chapel for 2 hours while I fix wires?" "Better than staring at my laptop and ignoring you from home," I said with a small smile. "Besides, I haven't been to Maple Hollow since we got engaged." So I packed a book, grabbed a scarf, and we drove out that Sunday morning under a cold but sunny sky. The town was still as quaint as I remembered. Clapboard buildings, shuttered storefronts, a fountain in the center that hadn't worked in years. While Richard did his thing at the church, I sat in a back pew, listening to the hum of his tools and wondering when we'd stopped having real conversations. By the time he wrapped up, it was after 1. We were both starving. He suggested the Hickory House Diner just off the square. "Place still makes the best sourdough melt I've ever had," he said. I nodded. "Sure, let's eat." We parked under a bare tree, its branches tapping gently against the roof of the car. Inside, the diner looked like time hadn't touched it. Red-checked curtains, oak-paneled booths, the smell of bacon grease clinging to the walls. We slid into a booth near the front. An old man in a camouflage jacket sipped coffee 2 tables over. A waitress in her 60s poured refills like clockwork. And then I saw her, in booth 5, tucked in the back. A young woman, maybe mid-20s, thin, pale, hair matted in clumps. She wore a wool coat 2 sizes too big, hands clenched around a glass of water. Her eyes kept darting toward the door like she expected someone to burst in any second. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I leaned toward Richard. "Do you see her?" He nodded, frowning. "Yeah. She looks scared." He paused. "Should we ask if she's okay?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to stay out of it. We didn't know her. Maybe she was just tired, or hungover, or waiting on someone. But Richard was already sliding out of the booth. That was one of the things I admired about him. He didn't overthink the way I did. If he saw someone who might need help, he moved. He walked slowly toward booth 5, palms open, voice soft. "Hi there, sorry to bother you," he said gently. "You all right? You need us to call someone?" The girl's head snapped up. Her eyes locked onto him like he'd lit a match too close to her skin. Then she screamed, not loud, but sharp, raw, like a dog caught in a trap. "You don't get to touch me," she shouted, her voice shaking. "You don't get to take me back." She grabbed the butter knife from her plate and held it like it might protect her from the world. A hush fell over the diner. Even the coffee pot seemed to stop percolating. Richard took a step back, hands still up. "Whoa, okay. No one's trying to touch you. I'm sorry." The manager, a heavy-set man with a red apron, appeared from behind the counter, whispering something into his phone. Before anyone else could react, the girl bolted, out of the booth, through the front door, coat flapping behind her like wings. I stood up and turned toward the window just in time to see her disappear behind the laundromat next door. A moment passed, then 2. The manager muttered something about weirdos and meth heads, and everything went back to normal, sort of. Our food arrived. We picked at it, both of us shaken. "Do you think she was on something?" I asked. Richard didn't answer right away. "I don't know. She just looked scared out of her mind." We didn't finish our meal. As we left, I glanced at booth 5. Her glass of water still sat there untouched. 3 days passed. I tried to forget about the girl, told myself she was probably fine, maybe just going through something we'd never understand. Then came the knock. It was late afternoon. I'd just finished a work call when I saw 2 people standing on the porch, suits, badges, no smiles. "Claire Harper?" the woman asked. "Yes." "We're with the FBI. Can we come in?" My stomach dropped. They introduced themselves, Agent Whitaker and Agent Grant. They were polite, careful with their words. They showed me a photo. It was her. The girl from booth 5. Her name's Evelyn Harper, 25. She was taken into custody this morning outside a property in Hillsborough. Old farmhouse. Abandoned. She's being held for questioning. Questioning about what? The woman agent's voice lowered. She recently gave birth. In secret. The child didn't survive. I sat down. The words didn't register all at once. She had a baby? The agent nodded. We believe she'd been on the run for weeks, living between churches, bus stations, diners. She'd been hiding the baby's clothing and supplies at a church in Maple Hollow. Richard's church job. She was there. I whispered. Sunday. We know. You and your husband were likely the last people to see her before she fled. The male agent flipped through notes. Do you remember anything she said? Anyone she might have been afraid of? She said... I stopped, voice catching. She said, "You don't get to take me back." The agents exchanged a glance. She was in and out of the foster system for years, Whitaker said. There were documented issues, abuse, neglect, psychiatric holds. She slipped through every crack. I felt sick. We're not here to assign blame, Grant added. We're just trying to piece together what led up to everything. They left not long after. I sat in silence, remembering Evelyn's face. Not just the panic, but something else. Hope. For a second, she'd looked at us like we might have been her lifeline. And we hadn't been. I didn't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after. I kept seeing her. Coat too big, hands shaking, eyes searching the room like a trapped animal. Not because she wanted to run, because she wanted someone to stop her from having to. I stopped going out. I couldn't eat. Couldn't work. Every noise felt too loud. Richard tried to help. You didn't do anything wrong, he'd say. You didn't know. But that was the part that haunted me. I did know. Not the details, not the baby. But I knew something was wrong. And I sat there and watched. You always imagine in those moments that you'll step in. You'll be the person who calls for help, who notices, who makes a difference. But sometimes you freeze. Sometimes fear wins over instinct. And sometimes you just don't want to get involved. That choice keeps you warm in the moment and ice cold forever after. I started driving back to Maple Hollow on Sundays, just walking past Hickory House, not going in, just standing there, watching people eat, watching Booth 5. It became a ritual. Months have passed. I've started talking to someone, a counselor. She says guilt is a teacher, not a punishment. I'm still learning what that means. Richard and I are better now, in a quiet, earned kind of way. We talk more, cook together. He holds my hand when I fall asleep. But I've changed. Every diner I step into, every small-town coffee shop or roadside stop, I look around. I watch the booths. I watch the women sitting alone. Just in case someone looks the way Evelyn did. Just in case it's my turn again. Sometimes the moment that matters most is the one we let slip by. You don't have to save the world, but pay attention, ask, act. You might be the only person who does. I'd been out for 6 months. On paper, I was doing fine. I had a room at the Riverview Motel, $28 a night if I paid cash. I was clean, sober, and clocking in 3 nights a week at Sonny's Diner, washing dishes and taking out trash. The kind of job nobody brags about, but one I was grateful for. Rick, the manager, knew my record. When I told him straight up, assault 3 years, no gang stuff, just a bar fight that got bad. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "You got 2 hands and show up on time, that's all I care about." That meant more than I could put into words. Sonny's wasn't fancy. Yellowed tiles, cracked booths, a jukebox that skipped half the damn time. But it was honest work. I'd show up just before dinner rush, throw on my apron, and disappear into the back with a sink full of suds and a head full of noise. I didn't talk much to the other guys, mostly high schoolers with earbuds in. Didn't need friends. Didn't need pity either. I just needed peace. And then one Friday, just after the lunch crowd died and the dinner folks started trickling in, I heard the bell above the front door ding. Something about the laughter that followed made my spine go stiff. I peeked out through the kitchen pass. 3 guys in work boots and neon jackets. Road crew, maybe. One of them leaned back, real casual, flipping his badge around his finger like it was a toy. Clay Jensen. Used to be a guard at Tri-County Correctional. Ran the segregation block. That man's voice had echoed off the concrete walls of solitary like a bad dream. And now he was here, ordering a cheeseburger, looking straight at me, smiling like the devil knows your name. Clay had this laugh. You know the kind. The one that starts low and gets under your skin before you even realize it. In prison, it was usually followed by something mean or humiliating. He'd say stuff like, "Look at you. All big and bad behind bars, huh? Bet you cried into your pillow at night." Then he'd leave your tray just out of reach, make you crawl for it. You try to forget that kind of thing. You tell yourself you're different now, that you've moved on. But all it took was hearing that laugh again, and suddenly I was back in that cold, windowless box, counting seconds and pretending I wasn't afraid of losing my mind. Rick noticed me stiffen. "You all right?" he asked, drying his hands on a towel. "That guy out there," I said quietly. "Clay Jensen. He used to work at Tri-County. Knew me." Rick looked through the window, then back at me. "You want to take a break?" "I'll just stay back here," I muttered. But Clay wasn't done. He leaned toward the kitchen pass, made sure his voice carried. "Hey, Rick, you got a dishwasher who knows how to cry on command?" Then he barked a laugh. Bet he still wets the bed. My fists clenched around the sink hose. I stared down into the dishwater, watching the suds pop and swirl like they might swallow me up. Rick told me to hang tight, that he'd run the food out, but Clay had other plans. "No offense," he called out loud enough for the room to hear, "but I think I want my guy to bring it." We go way back. The booth next to his chuckled like they were in on some joke I didn't understand, the kind that didn't need a punchline. Rick walked back in, looking a little unsure now. "Can you just take it out and set it down? Quick, don't say anything." I should have said no, but I nodded. And I carried out the burger, hot, greasy, perfectly built, to the man who once made my life hell. I didn't plan it. I swear to God, I didn't walk out there with vengeance in my chest or hate in my hands. I just wanted the moment over with, to set the plate down and walk away. But then Clay smirked, same as he used to back in that hellhole. Same smug little half-smile that told you no one would believe you. That whatever dignity you thought you had left was his to take. "You remember how to serve me, right?" he asked. And in that split second, something in me cracked. I leaned in, just slightly, enough that only he could see, and I spit. Right on the edge of the bun. Right where the ketchup met the cheese. He didn't flinch, didn't yell, didn't push the plate away. He just looked at me and said quietly, "Thanks, inmate." That's when I knew it wasn't about the burger. It never was. He came here for this. To prove to himself that I was still beneath him. That even in the real world, with the jumpsuit off and a name tag on, I still belonged to that time, to that cage. I walked back to the kitchen, breathing like I'd just run a mile. Rick didn't say anything. He looked at me like he was afraid to ask. And then the lights outside flickered blue. Cops. 2 of them. By the time they stepped inside, Clay had already shown them the footage. Our security cam didn't have sound, but it didn't need to. The spit was clear as day. Rick tried to argue, said maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the footage was unclear, but the cops weren't listening. They asked me to step outside. I didn't resist, didn't explain. I just took off my apron and said, Tell the kid to soak the fryer baskets tonight. They'll stick if you leave them dry. And then I walked into the cold. County jail smelled the same. Disinfectant, sweat, and resignation. They gave me a cot, a blanket, and a brown plastic tray of food that looked exactly how I remembered. Wet mashed potatoes and a dry chicken patty with a cracked bun. I didn't touch it. I sat on my cot and stared at the wall for a while, letting the quiet wrap around me like an old coat. No yelling, no panic, just stillness. That surprised me more than anything, how calm I felt. Rick had tried. He even showed up the next morning for a hearing. Told the judge I'd been doing great, that it was just one bad decision after a string of good ones. Didn't matter. Violation of parole was automatic. Spitting on food? Technically, that was assault. So I waited to hear how long I'd be staying. Could be weeks, could be months. But I didn't pace. Didn't yell into the cinder block walls like I used to. I just sat and whispered to no one. He got what he wanted. Because the truth is, Clay didn't come to Sonny's for food. He came for control. For the same sick power he had when I was just a number in a jumpsuit. And yeah, maybe spitting in his food wasn't smart, but it was mine. It was my choice, my moment. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't bow. They say everyone's got a breaking point. I found mine over a cheeseburger. Funny, huh? 3 years behind bars, I never threw a punch. Never spit, never fought back, just counted the days and kept my head down. But that day at Sonny's, I couldn't shrink anymore, not in front of him. I don't regret it. That probably sounds crazy. I'm not saying it was right, but it was real. And in a life where people strip everything from you, your name, your choices, your damn self-respect, getting one moment of your own back feels like freedom. Even if it costs you. I don't know where I'll go next. Maybe back to Rick if he'll have me. Maybe somewhere new. But next time someone laughs like that, I hope I'll have more to offer than spit. Maybe I'll walk away. Maybe I won't. But at least I'll know who I am. Even when life gives you second chances, dignity doesn't always come clean. But knowing when to stand up and when to walk away might be the only freedom some of us ever get. Long before I ever stepped foot in Miller's Diner, I was already running from something. I'd dropped out of college 2 years before, worked a string of nothing jobs, warehouse loading, pest control, even a few weeks on a roofing crew. None of it stuck. Either the hours were trash or I was, maybe both. By the time I rolled into Long Pine, Nebraska, I had a busted 2005 Chevy Malibu, $83 to my name, and a gas tank flirting with empty. I wasn't from there, didn't know anyone, and didn't plan on staying. But that all changed when I saw the sign. Help wanted, night shift. It was taped to the inside of a grease-smudged window at Miller's Diner, a squat little place squatting just off Highway 20 like it had been forgotten by time. It looked tired, and so did I. I figured we'd get along. Inside smelled like old fry oil and over-bleached rags. But there was something warm about it too. Comfortable, like it had stories soaked into its booths. A man in his 60s met me behind the counter. "Ron," he said, "you looking to work or just hungry?" "Both," I told him. "Mostly work." Ron didn't waste time. He looked me up and down, shrugged, and said, "You got 2 hands and a clean record?" I lied. "Yes, sir." That was it. I started the next night. 2 days later, Ron retired and handed the place off to a guy named Joel and his son Blake, a pale, awkward teenager who stared like he hadn't blinked since birth. From day one, it got weird. The diner changed. First thing to go, the grill, then the fryers. No more bacon, no coffee refills, just soft-serve ice cream, blizzards, and every flavor under the sun. Flavors I'd never even heard of. People started showing up late, real late, midnight, 2. Some just sat in their trucks and waited like they were under a spell. Joel called them enthusiasts, said they'd found a niche. I should have left then. But I needed the money. Rent wasn't going to pay itself, and those late-night tips were stupid good. People tipped like the cold dessert was changing their damn lives. That first week I told myself I'd seen worse. I hadn't. 3 weeks in, I'd memorized the menu. Joel's frozen concoctions came in 100 names. Rusty almond, cactus honey, maple smoke, and birthday cake. We didn't use soft serve machines. Joel kept gallon tubs in the freezers, already mixed, already perfect. I asked where they came from once. He just said, back storage. Proprietary stuff. Blake would restock silently. He'd lug the tubs in like they weighed nothing, never breaking eye contact. That kid gave me the creeps. Pale, skinny, lips always slightly parted like he was whispering something to himself. I tried not to talk to him. Joel was different. Polite, always wearing the same old cardigan and pressed jeans. He looked more like a librarian than a diner owner. Never raised his voice. Always had a soft smile, but it never reached his eyes. Then Charlie stopped showing up. Charlie was a regular. 50s, flannel shirt, big gut. Always ordered the chocolate banana blizzard. We chatted sometimes about baseball and his ex-wife. He was solid. Always came in around 3:15 a.m. sharp. But for 4 nights in a row, he was a no-show. Hey, I asked Joel one shift. Charlie okay? Haven't seen him lately. Joel scraped his scoop against the side of a tub. Moved on, he said without looking up. Sometimes people outgrow this place. I didn't buy it. Charlie once told me this diner was the only thing that kept his nights together. Still, I shrugged it off. Tried to stay out of things. Tried to mind my own business. But the night I went looking for a mop, everything changed. It was near the end of my shift, and I spilled some syrupy root beer near the prep counter. Joel wasn't around. Blake was watching TV in the back. I grabbed a flashlight and headed toward the utility closet. But the back door, the freezer, was ajar. That thing was always locked. Always. The cold hit me first, metallic and sharp, then the smell, rust, bleach. Something sweet but wrong. Inside were stacked boxes, no labels. I reached for one and a flap tore slightly. What I saw inside wasn't ice cream. It was flesh, pale, tattooed, fresh. I stumbled back, heart in my throat, bile in my mouth. I must have made a noise because within seconds Blake was there. He didn't speak, didn't blink, just stood there in the hallway, half shadowed by the flickering overhead bulb. The way he looked at me, I swear it was like he was waiting, like he wanted to see what I'd do next. Hey, I said, my voice shaking. I was just looking for the mop closet. Didn't mean to. Blake took one step forward. Then Joel's voice cut through the cold. Some things, he said calmly, aren't meant for your kind of curiosity. He appeared from nowhere, hands in his cardigan pockets. Calm as always. Like we were talking about borrowed DVDs, not body parts in boxes. What the hell is this? I barked, panic rising in my chest. Joel gave a soft smile. You've had a good run here, Devin. You're not the first to peak, but I'd prefer you be the last. I didn't wait to find out what he meant. I quit that night. Didn't even ask for my last paycheck. Just grabbed my things, got in my car, and peeled out of the parking lot without looking back. The sunrise was just beginning to smear orange across the horizon as I crossed the county line. I told myself it was a trick of the light. Maybe it was a pig carcass. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe. But 3 days later, my little sister received a delivery. No card, just a small styrofoam container on our porch, packed in dry ice. Flavored birthday cake. Her birthday was in 2 days. I'd never told them anything about her. I didn't sleep for a week. I packed my stuff and left Nebraska without a plan, driving south until the weather changed and the towns felt unfamiliar. I tossed my phone, got a new one, changed my last name on social media, told my sister to stay with friends. She didn't ask questions. She could tell I wasn't okay. I settled in Colorado under a different name, got a job at a supply warehouse. It was boring, It was perfect. Months passed. Then a friend sent me a text. "Dude, this viral ice cream place in Kansas, you see this?" Attached was a screenshot of a local news article. A small-town diner had exploded in popularity thanks to its unique homemade blizzard flavors. The photo showed the back of a teenage boy behind the counter. He looked familiar. Still pale. Still watching. Every hair on my body stood up. It wasn't over. That freezer, the one at Miller's, it wasn't just a place. It was a system, a routine, a process, one that moved town to town, feeding people what they didn't understand, and collecting the ones who got too close. And Blake? He was part of it. Maybe born into it. Maybe something else entirely. Either way, they were still out there. It's been almost a year now. I haven't touched ice cream since. Can't walk past a frozen aisle without a chill running through me. I've moved twice since Colorado just in case, but I still check the news. Every few weeks, another sleepy town's diner goes viral for unforgettable frozen desserts. New names, same formula. People line up. The menu's never the same, but one flavor always returns. Birthday cake. I think that's their signature. Their signature warning if you're paying attention. I've thought about going to the FBI, but what do I say? That I found body parts in a freezer and a ghost boy mailed my sister dessert? So I stay quiet, stay small. I work in daylight now. I trust no one who wears a paper hat and offers a house special. And I never, ever accept dessert from strangers. Curiosity can open doors, but some doors are better left closed. Not everything that tastes sweet is made with sugar. And when something feels wrong, trust that feeling. If you've ever worked nights at a roadside diner, you'll know the weirdos always come after 9. I'm Tasha Simmons, 25, line cook at the Dusty Spoon Diner just off I-20 in Calhoun, Louisiana. Been here 3 years, saving up for nursing school. It ain't glamorous, frying onion rings and grilling sandwiches till midnight, but it's honest work, and most days are the same. Locals, tired truckers, the occasional drunk college kid from Monroe. But then came the man in the white hoodie. He first showed up on a Thursday night, walked in slow, kind of shuffled, like someone twice his age, tall, gaunt, face like he hadn't eaten in days. He looked sunken, like something was pressing him down from the inside. Didn't say much, just pointed at the menu and asked for the chicken sandwich and a glass of water. Didn't touch either. Went straight into the restroom and didn't come out for at least 30 minutes. My coworker, Becky, joked, "He's either shooting up in there or exorcising a demon." We laughed. Not in a mean way, just how people do when they're uncomfortable. Second week, he did the same thing. Third week, same again. Chicken sandwich, water, restroom, silence. We started calling him Ghost Guy. I didn't like that. Felt wrong somehow. Still, we had bets going on what his deal was. Meth head, drifter, some government experiment gone wrong. But deep down, I knew there was something real behind those eyes. Something cracked. And then came the fourth Thursday. I remember it clear as day. The rain had been coming down steady all evening. My stomach was churning from a gas station burrito I shouldn't have eaten. I asked Becky to cover the grill, tossed my apron, and made my way to the customer restroom. Door creaked open slow. The air inside felt tight, like walking into a pressure cooker. The stall at the end was closed. I was about to knock when I heard it. They're under my skin. They won't stop. I can feel them. Low voice, raspy, uneven breathing. I froze. Then came the scratching. Fast, panicked, like someone trying to claw their way out of their own body. I couldn't move. I don't know how long I stood there just staring at that stall door, heart slamming against my ribs. I wanted to leave, run, scream, get help. But something in that voice, in those words, locked my feet to the tile. Get them out. Get them out. Get them out. The last part was screamed so loud it rang in my ears. Then, bam, bam, bam. He started punching the stall walls, fists thudding against metal, grunting in pain. That broke the spell. I spun around, yanked open the restroom door, and ran back into the dining area. Becky was restocking napkins behind the counter. I must have looked white as a ghost because she dropped everything. "What the hell happened to you?" He's in there. Ghost guy. He's bleeding, I think. He's screaming, he's talking about things under his skin." We both turned as we heard the door slam open. The man stumbled out, bare chest exposed under his lifted hoodie. Bloody scratch marks, fingernail deep, raked across his ribs like he'd tried to cut something out of himself. Becky gasped. "Jesus." He fell to his knees in the middle of the diner crying. Real crying. The kind that makes your stomach twist, not the kind people fake for attention. This was the sound of a man whose brain was at war with his body. "Help me," he sobbed, clawing at his arms now, peeling off his hoodie. "They're crawling inside me. Roaches, I can feel them." One of the regulars, a trucker named Jim, stood up, unsure what to do. "Sir, you okay?" "They laid eggs in my ears," he screamed, grabbing at his head, smearing blood across his face. Becky grabbed the phone. "I'm calling 911. He didn't even notice. He started stripping down, first his hoodie, then his jeans, right there on the linoleum floor. Crying, shaking, muttering something over and over. "They won't leave. They won't leave." Within 10 minutes, blue and red lights lit up the parking lot. EMTs came first, followed by a cop I recognized, Deputy Marks. They didn't look shocked. They looked tired. "His name's Daryl Winslow," Mark said as they strapped the man onto a stretcher. "Used to be a math teacher at Calhoun High. My high school." I stepped back, heart sinking. After the ambulance pulled away, the diner felt quieter than it ever had before, like the air had been sucked out of it. I went back into the kitchen and stared at the grill, trying to focus, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. "You okay?" Becky asked, her voice soft. "I think he was one of my teachers at Calhoun High. I mean, I don't remember him, not exactly, but I remember the name, Mr. Winslow. Math." Becky leaned against the prep counter, arms folded. Jesus, what happened to him? The rest of the shift passed in silence. I went home, sat on my bed, and looked him up online. Took me about 10 minutes to find his old faculty profile on a cached school website. Mr. Daryl Winslow. Algebra 1 and 2. Cross-country coach. There was a photo. He looked normal then. Clean cut. Friendly smile. Glasses, button-up shirt. Not the man I saw clawing at his chest, naked and bleeding. The news articles filled in the blanks. He'd been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia 6 years ago. Left his job. Lost his house. Lived in a shelter for a while. Then disappeared from the system. Somewhere in those 6 years, the town forgot about him. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard him again. "Help me." They're inside me. But it wasn't the fear that haunted me. It was the agony. The loneliness. The way his voice cracked like he'd been screaming for years and nobody listened. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't violent. He was just sick. And we had laughed at him. We had called him Ghost Guy. A week passed before I could use that bathroom again. I kept hearing him, his footsteps, his whispering, even though he wasn't there. Every time I opened the door, I expected to see the blood. But it was gone. Bleached, scrubbed, sanitized. Didn't matter. It was still there for me. One night after close, I found myself scrubbing the sink even though it didn't need it. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I cleaned the space enough, the memory would go with it. It didn't. Becky walked in. "You know he's still in the hospital, right? The psych ward in Monroe." I nodded. "I've been thinking about visiting." She raised an eyebrow. "You serious?" "I don't know," I said. "I feel like I have to." Not out of guilt exactly. Out of something deeper. A recognition. He was a part of my community. A man who'd once taught kids, probably made lesson plans, bought coffee every morning just like the rest of us. Now he was alone, discarded, forgotten. I called the hospital the next day. They said he wasn't taking visitors. I wrote him a letter anyway. I don't know if he ever read it, but I told him who I was, that I remembered him, that he mattered, that I was sorry. Now, every Thursday, I set one plate of food aside, chicken sandwich, glass of water. Same booth, back corner. It's not about superstition, it's about memory. Every once in a while, a trucker will ask if someone's sitting there. I just say, reserved. We still get strange customers, weirdos, people that make the staff uncomfortable. But I don't joke anymore. Sometimes broken people don't look scary. Sometimes they do. Doesn't mean they're not human. If you've ever worked night shift, you've probably seen someone like Daryl. Maybe you laughed, maybe you ignored them. But I see them now. And I listen. The line between madness and humanity is thinner than we think. Behind every breakdown is a person with a story. Compassion costs nothing, but it can be everything to someone who's been forgotten.